Yay. Okay. All right. Hi, guys. My name is Michelle Schuman. A little bit about myself. I'm a diamond coach. My direct upline is Lee Ryan, who did last Thursday night's call. So we are a couple levels below Nikki, I guess. I was actually listening to Lee's call. I was on a train last Thursday, and it made me laugh because her whole call was about like attracts like, and having people on your team who are similar to you in some ways. And a couple things that Lee and I have in common are that we're both sort of like no bullshit, high confidence, that sort of thing. But she said something last week how she didn't have any slides and she was just going to go by the seat of her pants. This is how we are different. I have lots of slides. I love slides. So I have slides. I'm going to talk about two things that can kind of be woven together a little bit. The first one is about taking risks in your personal life and then transferring that into taking risks in your business. And then the second thing I'm going to talk about is talking. Like a lot of people, our business is driven, I would say 90%, 80% by Facebook and Facebook conversations that we have with people. And I have found that my most successful interactions with people have been not via Facebook, but face to face. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And for many people, having a face to face or a phone call conversation can be risky, especially if they feel uncomfortable. So if that's the case for you, then these two subjects go really well together. So I'm going to share my screen, my slideshow. All righty, everyone can see that? Yay. Okay, perfect. So this is a two-parter little presentation here, taking risks and the art of talking. So the reason that I wanted to talk about taking risks first was that I recently took a huge risk, and I haven't made it Facebook public yet because I had to take a sick day from work. So I wanted to wait a few weeks after that sick day so that people wouldn't tie it together necessarily. I'm going to blog about it tomorrow, but they had put out, Beachbody had put out an advertisement for people to apply for the PIO infomercial back in May. And I applied for that and I got picked. So in 48 hours, I went to LA. I live in New Jersey, by the way. I went to LA and was in the PIO infomercial and came home. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit too, but tomorrow is also my 1-year Beachbody anniversary. So I wanted to tie all these things together and talk about taking risks. And I thought this was like a really fun way to sort of close out my first year in Beachbody. So that's sort of the opening to this. So the first thing, are you a risk taker? So this is kind of a funny story. When I took AP Psych my senior year of high school, we took this little test survey called the Sensation Seeking Scale by Marvin Zuckerberg. And basically it asked 40 different questions, and there were 4 different groups of questions. And based on how many points you got, it determined how much sensation you need in order to be aroused. And I don't mean like sexually, I just mean like get excited about stuff. So basically, if you scored a 40, you had to jump out of a plane without a parachute on drugs to feel a thrill. And if you got a 0, you got overwhelmed staring at a wall, basically. And I scored a 1. So basically in high school, like drugs made me uncomfortable, sex made me uncomfortable, leaving my home made me uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable doing pretty much everything. So I actually saw my psych teacher last year, and we had a good laugh about that. And he told me that if I retook the test again, I would probably get a higher score because I was married at that point, and getting married is kind of a risky, or can be considered a risky behavior in terms of this assessment. And I did retake it and I got a 6. So woo, I'm growing as a person. However, that was like a year and a half ago. So I think at this point I would probably be more like an 8 or 9, which would be really exciting for me. So the 4 different types of risk on this assessment is thrill seeking, um, which is like searching for risk, right? So you're needing to do things like skydiving, mountain climbing, bungee jumping, um, anything like that. Those are the types of questions that are thrill seeking.
True.
The disinhibition is your ability to be restrained. So this is people who are like comfortable with drug use, alcohol use, vandalism, unsafe sex, things like that. So the questions will ask you how you feel about those things, and you would respond yes or no. Experiencing seeking is things like traveling, interest in art and music, and sometimes less risky activities than the first two. And then the last one is boredom susceptibility, and that's dislike for repetition. So people who always like to try new things don't like to do the same thing over and over and over again, right? So um, one of the things is if you score high on this assessment, it's seen a lot in individuals with psychopathic tendencies, antisocial behaviors, and in psychology, antisocial isn't like not wanting to hang out with people. It's someone who has long-term pattern of manipulating, exploiting, or violating the rights of others, psychedelic drug users, and most addicts. So they're not, one equals the other, but people who have those things often score high on the scale, right? However, people who score high on the sensation seeking scale are also individuals such as politicians, entrepreneurs, and those in vocations aiming to help people, which I would say we are two of those three things listed. I wouldn't call us politicians. And so why is that? Mostly this is because you need to take risks in your business in order to be successful. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean bungee jumping or having unsafe sex, but we can equate some of these like actions in our business to the four of those things. And it's all different depending on the person. So like one person's risk is another person's daily habit. And that's one of the things I'll talk about when we talk about like talking to people. Like to me, that's not a risk, but for some people who feel uncomfortable, sharing and talking in person and like the wait time of a computer, that could be considered a risk for them. So what kinds of risks should you take or can you take in your business, particularly in Beachbody, right? So a thrill-seeking risk could be gambling with your money or taking a chance with your money. So those of us who have those stories where, we're in debt, we're bankrupt, one or both of you or your spouse doesn't have a job, and you really don't have that money to buy that first challenge pack, but you do it anyway, that could be considered a thrill-seeking risk. For disinhibition, socializing with everybody. So the ability to be unrestrained in terms of talking to people. Like, what is the difference between someone who goes out and Facebook message 75 people in one day without constantly thinking to themselves, oh my God, what are those people thinking of me? What if they think I'm calling them fat? What if they think I'm crazy? All of those things, like the people who just go out there and talk to people about whatever's on their mind, that's sort of a disinhibition risk that you're taking. Not letting like your social anxiety or your fear of rejection getting in the way. That would be a risk that you would take for Beachbody. For experience seeking. Now, this is definitely because experience seeking and boredom susceptibility are the less like risky behaviors. Those are the two I would say that are most useful to us in this business. So for experience seeking, like this is the kind of thing that I did when I went out to California by myself with 1 week's notice, rented a car, stayed with someone I'd never met, drove to all of this stuff is an experience that I went out and did, practically peeing myself the entire time, for the business. I did it, and I did it for myself. I mean, obviously all these risks I'm doing to become a better person, but go to events you've never been to before, meet people you've never met before, try something new. That's an experience risk that you're taking to make yourself better, to make your business better, whatever. The final one, boredom susceptibility. Don't get stuck in a rut. Now, obviously, we don't want to recreate the wheel. We don't want to, be so all over the place because we don't like boredom or we don't like routine. But at the same time, you need to be open to trying new ways of running challenge groups. You need to be open to trying new ways of making connections, trying new foods that are good for you. I did a couple Facebook posts a few months ago about trying avocado, which I was like super skeeved out about because the texture of avocado like gets me all upset. But I tried it and I took pictures and I posted it and I got so many responses. Like, people were obsessed with the fact that I'd never tried avocado. And then they were obsessed with the fact of trying to get me to try it in new and different ways. I had like 30 people commenting about different ways to try avocado. It was nuts. I didn't know it was going to be so crazy like that. But, just posting about that, trying new workouts so that you can share them with people. Getting stuck in a rut is definitely not what you want to do with this business. And so, if you find a schedule that works for you, or you find, a pattern of something that works for you, like every morning I get up and I do things in a certain order, that's fine. But you need to look at what's working and what's not and be open to trying new things. So I shared a little bit about what kind of risks I took when I was going over that list, but some of the risks that I did in terms of like thrill seeking was I was not in debt necessarily when I started Beachbody, but my husband had been out of work for 3 months, and I'm a teacher and I don't get paid over the summer. My paychecks get split over 20 instead of 24. So once June's over, I'm not getting paid anymore. And I joined on June 19th. So I did that even though we were losing money every month with him not in a job. I had never tried Shakeology before. I joined to make money. Like, I did not join to be a discount coach. I joined because I needed money. And I was like, well, how am I going to sell this shake if it's gross? I hope I like it. And I did. So it's all good. Today, June 18th, is actually the 1-year anniversary that I had knee surgery. So I had knee surgery on June 18th. And then June 19th, I signed up to be a fitness coach. So that was risky because I didn't know if I was going to be able to move. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do the program. I didn't think people would buy a program from someone who couldn't bend their knee. I was wrong, but it was all good. I went to Pittsburgh for the Super Saturday with a bunch of people I had never met before, stayed in a hotel room with people I'd never met before, was in a giant crowd, which gets me really anxious. Obviously, I went to California. So I did all of these things, and my business has grown in leaps and bounds. I hit Diamond, I think, a couple days before my 6-month anniversary, so back in December. And my one coach is so close to hitting Diamond. So my hope is to be 1-star qualifying by Summit, which I also signed up for. And that's something I would have never done before this, is go off on a vacation by myself with people I barely knew to be in a large crowd. So I encourage you guys to think about some different kinds of risks that you can take in your business, whether it's spending more money in hopes that the outcome will be that you're making more money, whether it's talking to people, whether it's using Facebook. I actually had one coach who was gung-ho at the beginning, but refused to use Facebook and didn't really do anything else to try to further her business. And so she ended up struggling and dropped from an Emerald coach because she just was not open to using Facebook at all. And while it's really good to explore new options, Facebook is really the first and easiest way to grow your business. So try to be more open with posting. Again, I didn't want to post in the beginning because I was a teacher and I was nervous about that. And now I post, 2 to 3 times a day because it works. Even taking a risk like taking a month off from Beachbody, if it's what you need personally, for your family, for yourself, whatever the case may be. I sold nothing. I had 0 challenge packs. I had 0 Success Club points. I only had my cycle bonuses, and I only had like some reoccurring HD orders. May was stressful for me. I had stuff going on in my personal life. Besides a teacher, I'm also the business manager at a local theater, and all the shows were in May. And it was one of those things where I told my coaches I was there for them if they needed it, but I wasn't forming. I wasn't sharing. I mean, I was doing my daily shares, like my workout posts, my food, like I was all sharing on Facebook. But in terms of like starting conversations with people who didn't approach me, I wasn't doing that. I needed a month to take care of my other stuff. And now June, I'm at Success Club 6, and hopefully I'm trying to sign 2 coaches. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I encourage you guys to think about different risks that you can take. And remember, they're risks. They're not guaranteed, but look at what other people are doing. Look at what is a possible outcome for you if you do something, and try it. At the very least, you'll learn something from it, and you'll become a more knowledgeable person. I'm not going to do that again, or, oh my gosh, that worked so well. Look at how much I've grown. So, and that's really, the third thing that we need to do in this business is personal development, grow as people, encourage our challengers to grow as people, encourage our coaches to grow as people. So we need to be doing the exact same thing and setting an example. So that was the first part about risk. So for some of you, talking, how did I get that line there? Talking to people is a risk. So we're going to go into that. I call it face-to-face forming. So if you think about it, talking to people is a lot like, I'm sorry, I have to figure out why this line is here and how to make it go away, because this is now going to drive me nuts. Please hold while I figure out how to erase this. Does anybody know anything about PowerPoint? Wait, maybe if I just undo typing. No, I don't want to do that. Rats. Is that really bothering you guys? It's going to bother me. Okay, we're going to keep going. So talking to people is a lot like face-to-face forming. It's like forming on social media. So you guys know that forming is family, occupation, recreation, and message, right? So if you think about any conversation you have with anybody, whether it's your best friend to your mom to somebody at your kid's preschool or whatever the case may be, you're normally going to start out with one of those things. Oh, how are your kids doing? Oh, I heard your dad was sick. How's he feeling? Oh, it's you and your husband's anniversary. Congratulations. You're almost always going to start with family and then move through those things. And certainly, you have a lot of different actions, like interactions, like I said, from your own family to, some dude on the corner. But your conversations are sort of going to expand that, span that gamut between intimate and your cordial hellos. But it doesn't matter. You're still trying, when you're trying to create conversation with someone, if you think about it, that is a very natural process to go in. It's just hard for sometimes, like I really do like the wait time and the think time that I have on Facebook. And you don't have that in person. So that can be stressful. So even though I'm not always talking about Beachbody when I'm with people, I am always looking for a way to insert that information into the conversation. Most recently, the thing that I've started doing that has helped me at the very least open up lines of communication where I can see myself talking about it later is, and I've tried this at a few like bridal showers and baby showers. When someone asks me, oh, what do you do? Occupation, right? When someone asks me, what do? I tell them I have 3 jobs right off the bat. I say I'm a teacher, I say I'm a business manager at the local theater, and I tell them I'm a Beachbody coach. For the first almost year, it was one of those things where sometimes I'd slip in at the bottom because I was worried that people would be like, oh, what's that? And sort of like judge me, or, I didn't know how to go into it. I didn't want to be like, well, we sell shakes, and I was uncomfortable with that. So I didn't really know what to say. So I didn't say anything. And then I started to realize, hello, this is one of your jobs. You're making considerable, substantial money doing this. Why shouldn't you tell people? I mean, that's part of explaining the business opportunity to people, first you have to show them that it's a legitimate business that you are working and, gaining financial stability in. So now right off the bat, I say those three things. And when I have found that when I say that with confidence, like, these are my three jobs, this is what I do, people respond to me much more seriously. They're like, oh, that's interesting. What's a Beachbody coach? So instead of being like, oh, what's that? Because, if you're like, oh, I'm a Beachbody coach, people are going to respond to you in that same way. So say it with confidence and they'll receive it the same way. So that's one way that I found that I'm able to insert it into the conversation. One of the big things that I do on Facebook that is like, what? It's crazy. I didn't even know that this one question I would get like paragraphs and paragraphs back from people, but now I do it in person as well, is I simply ask, what are your health and fitness goals? That's all I do. I don't get too specific at the very beginning. Even if a person is interested in one particular program, like I had this one woman who I was talking to in person go on and on and on about how obsessed she was with 21 Day Fix. And then she kept putting me off. And I finally talked to her on the phone yesterday. It turns out like she doesn't want 21 Day Fix at all. She's a runner. She wants something that's easy on her joints. She wants something that she can supplement with her running, that she doesn't have to go to the gym for and need any equipment. I was like, well, duh, she's a PIO girl, which is perfect because I am too. But after hearing those things and like actually asking her what her health and fitness goals were, I realized she wasn't a 21 Day Fix girl at all. And she was just talking about 21 Day Fix because everyone was talking about it, not because it was actually right for her. So making sure that you're asking them generically, what are your health and fitness goals? You'll find out that people have, arthritis. You'll find out that people have allergies. You'll find out that people maybe have emotional issues. Oh, shoot. Our meeting's going to end in 10 minutes. Oh, rats. Okay. I don't know why that is. I'll try to talk fast. Or we'll restart. So after they talk about that, I start to ask them things like, what part of your health and fitness do you struggle with? What do you enjoy doing? And what do you hate? How much time do you have for meal prep and exercise? And those questions I keep on the back burner in my brain, just like I do when I'm typing, in order to foster this conversation and talk more about it. So following up, you can always go back. No opportunity is closed. I had a couple of situations where this worked out really well for me. On the first day of school last year, I had been Facebooking all summer about my success with PIO and my fitness journey. And some woman in the craziness of the first day of school walked by my room and said, hey, I've been watching your fitness stuff. That's so cool. We should talk about it sometime. And I was like, yeah, definitely. And then months went by and I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to go up to her. Like I thought she was just trying to be nice. So then finally I got over myself and I went up to her and I was like, hey, I was just thinking about how you said you wanted to talk about the fitnessy stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's do it. So far she's lost 25 pounds and she's one of my most dedicated discount coaches. Like she's obsessed with her shakes. So I did the same thing. A woman was talking to me about how she was struggling at the gym. She just wasn't seeing her results she was looking for. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. And I walked away and I was like, God damn it. Like that was the perfect opportunity. What's wrong with you? And I said that to my mom. My mom was like, well, why don't you just go back? And I was like, why don't I just go back? So I did. I went back the next day. I said, you know what? I was thinking about our conversation yesterday. And I mean, gosh, I have the best idea. I have this thing, blah, blah, blah. And now she's a discount coach and has been a discount coach for 8 months. So please always go back. Think about a way that you can reconnect with them. The best, line you can use I have here. Hey, I was thinking about how we were talking about blank yesterday. Do you think you'd be interested in blank? Or I've been trying blank, maybe you'd like it, whatever. If someone mentions it to you in passing, don't be afraid to approach them later. Start to friend and follow people on social media that you interact with in person to warm them up to your message. So people that I've been talking to and meeting at these baby showers and bridal showers that I've been telling I'm a Beachbody coach, I automatically friend them. So now they're seeing my posts enough. I see whether they like them or not, especially with bridal showers are good because you're going to see them in a few months. So that's sort of what I did. I had one a month ago. The wedding's in July. I'm hoping to talk to them about it again, and then we'll see how it goes. And talk to people who you notice have like your Facebook statuses. That really, really works for me. So especially if you get someone new liking your status, like someone you've never seen like it before, quick go message them and say, hey, I haven't heard from you. You know, we haven't talked in so long. Thanks for liking my Facebook status about corn. How's it going? Or pens. I did a Facebook status about pens a few weeks ago and like the internet exploded. It was so weird. People talk about the weirdest things, but it works, and you have to respond to those people. Like, you have to. They're like asking you to talk to them. The other reason I love talking in person and why I love Zooms and not phone calls necessarily is because talking face to face gives you the opportunity to show your passion. Okay, so you can show that you're really interested in listening to them and focused on what they have to say. This is good conversation skills, right? So you and I both know that when you're messaging people on Facebook, you're not just messaging them, you're cooking dinner, you're watching TV, you're going to the bathroom, you're taking care of your kids, you're running out to get the mail. You're really not focused on them, because that's the beauty of the computer and social media. Like, we can do other things. When you're talking face to face with a person, you really can't do that, or else you look incredibly rude. And so that really shows people how interested you are, how important they are to you, and how you're really thinking about their needs. And so that's a benefit that you just don't get when you're talking on the computer. And I've convinced a lot of people to go with challenge packs or whatever in person that I just don't think I would have been able to do over Facebook, because you can't tell how they're feeling if you're not talking to them face to face. You can't tell what their objections are. They might make something up on Facebook to get you to stop talking to them. Whereas if you're in person, you can kind of gauge what they're thinking and how they're feeling. You know, just like on Facebook or social media, don't always talk about Beachbody. That's not all you are, and that's not all you care about. So be an actual human being with interests and likes and dislikes, and, show them who you are and that you're someone who they can relate to, and you're not just all about Shakeology, even though it's delicious. Okay. One thing that people get, I can't believe we're running out of time. This is frustrating me. One thing that people get really anxious about when they're talking in person is if someone asks them a question and they don't know the answer. And then you're like, and you feel like you look stupid because you're supposed to be someone who is selling the product. You use the product. You should know all the answers. As a teacher, I got over that very quickly, because sixth graders sometimes ask super intellectual questions. And you're like, I don't know. So my response usually to the sixth graders is Google it. And they all have a Chromebook now, so they just do. Obviously, you're not going to do that to someone you're talking to about Shakeology, but you can simply say, you know what, that's a really great question. I'm not 100% sure, and I want to make sure I give you the complete correct answer. Can I get back to you about that? And then smoothly change the subject into something you do know, okay? Not everyone knows everything. And this also gives you an opportunity to follow up with them at a later time, because they have a question that you haven't answered. So you can go back to them later and say, hey, I found out, whether there is gluten in the Shakeology. And you know what? There isn't, but it is made in a factory where there is gluten. So in case you're, blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you have to look that up. Definitely make a list of some things that you feel like people are asking you most often. That way you can always refer back to them, and practice by sharing things with people who don't mind, like your husband or your dog. And also, I found mentioning people they might know or connect with who are also succeeding. So this has worked really well at school. If someone's interested, I'll say, oh my gosh, did you know that Linda's doing it too? She already lost 10 pounds. It's crazy. And then they'll be like, oh my God, Linda's doing it? Well, if Linda's doing it, then I have to do it. That doesn't always work if you're not if you're talking to someone who doesn't know other people. But if you do, or you feel like you can talk to Ben Stiller does P90X. You could tell that to a guy. Oh my God, did you know Ben Stiller does P90X? He's funny and he's got great abs. Whatever. So that helps people connect with you about that. This is just a little bit about the phone. I haven't done much selling over the phone. Actually, I think yesterday was like my real first like true sale over a phone call. And I got her from Pio to a challenge pack. So I definitely couldn't have done that if it wasn't on the phone. So that's awesome. Let's see. We have less than a minute. So what I'm going to do is give you my call to action, and then I'm going to get right back on without recording. And if anybody has questions, we'll get right back on. So just re-click the link and that'll be fine. Practice forming with people. Go talk to someone. That's your call to action before this shuts off. Go talk to someone. Be you, be awesome. And they will want to join you so much because you're so awesome and because you're taking the time to talk to them about it face to face. And that's how I really feel. So that's your call to action. And I'm going to stop sharing and we're all going to come back, or at least come back if you have a question or if you just want to hang out. Okay. I'm stopping the share and I'm going to end the meeting. And if you want to, we'll come back.